you've never tanked before but want a spec that's actually forgiving, Guardian Druid is your best entry point, period. It's the easiest tank in a game, lets you focus on learning the dungeon instead of focusing too much on your abilities, and it's almost impossible to mess up the basics. If you want to stop dying and start carrying your groups, here's everything you need to know to play Guardian Druid in Mythic Plus for the War Within. Guardian Druid is all about managing your main resource, Rage. You generate rage with abilities like Mangle and Thrash, and you spend it mostly on Ironfur to keep yourself alive. The goal is never let your rage overcap. Wasting it means missing out on both survivability and damage. As a tank, your job isn't just to survive, but to set the pace for your group and keep things moving smoothly through the dungeon. That means holding aggro, staying alive, and using your cooldowns so your group doesn't get overwhelmed. Guardian Druid makes this job simpler than most tanks, so you can focus on the dungeon instead of worrying about complex rotations. If you're tanking, you want to prioritize Ironfur as your main rage spender. Keep at least one stack active at all times, and ramp up to 5 to 7 stacks if you're taking heavy damage. If your rage is about to cap, press Ironfur again to avoid waste and maximize Thorns of Iron damage. If you're not tanking or only taking magical damage, you can dump rage into Maul for extra damage since you don't need the armor buff. In practice, because Thorns of Iron makes Ironfur deal good AoE damage and you always want to keep up mitigation, most of your rage will go into Ironfur in any real content. Guardian doesn't have one big panic button like some tanks. Instead, you have multiple tools you're expected to use proactively. Incarnation Guardian of Ursoc, your main taking cooldown, gives you bonus health, reduced damage taken, and lets Mangle hit more targets. Use it often, ideally at the start of big pools or dangerous moments. Rage of the Sleeper. It's a strong defensive and offensive cooldown. Use it when taking heavy hits or when you want to push more damage safely. Lunar Beam deals AoE damage, heals you, and increases mastery while active. Use this as a hybrid cooldown for both damage and survivability. Heart of the Wild is another way for us to buff Moonfire, so use it early and often. Bark Skin is a short cooldown. It's low commitment, use it often to smooth out incoming damage. And Survival Instincts, a big 60% damage reduction. Save this for moments you know you will be hit hard, for like tank busters or sketchy pulls. If you are new to it, use cooldowns liberally until you learn the dangerous parts of each dungeon. Don't hold them just in case and end up never using them. Now that we understand the basic premise, we can layer our hero talents on top of it. Now for hero talents, we go with Elune's Chosen. Elune's Chosen is the standard hero talent tree for Guardian Druid. It doesn't change your core rotation. The main impact is that you pick up Lunar Beam, a strong offensive and defensive cooldown that boosts your damage, healing, and mastery. Most passives just add more arcane damage and small defensive benefits. You play the same way but with one extra button to press for burst AoE and survivability. No extra complexity. This is the safest and most reliable setup for new or returning Guardian Druids. Alright, so here's how you actually play Guardian Druid single target priority from highest to lowest. First, as we already mentioned, you always watch your rage bar. If you're about to cap on rage, you want to spend it on Ironfur. Not only does this keep you alive by boosting your armor, but because you're talented into Thorns of Iron, it also does a bit of AoE damage around you, so don't let rage go to waste. The next priority is to keep Moonfire up. If the damage over time ever falls off, get it back as soon as possible. It's free extra damage and it helps with rage when you get Galactic Guardian procs. After that, use Thrash. Make sure the debuff is always on your target and reapply if it's about to expire or if it's not on max stacks. More Thrash equals more rage and more survivability. Whenever Heart of the Wild is up, hit it. It's just a straight up buff to your damage, so no reason not to use it as soon as it's available. Then the next priority is to drop Lunar Beam when it's ready. It gives you a big burst of mastery, which means more healing and more damage reduction, and does decent damage and healing on its own. Rage of the Sleeper is next. Use it when it's off cooldown, unless Incarnation Guardian of Ursoc is just about to be ready at the same time within like 10 seconds. Then you can wait up and pop them together for a big damage window. which directly ties into your next priority, Incarnation, Guardian of Ursak. It's your big tank cooldown. Use it whenever it's up for extra survivability. After your cooldowns, you want to keep Mangle on cooldown. It's your best rage generator, so don't sit on it. Then if you get the Galactic Guardian proc, use Moonfire again. If everything else is handled and you've got a free global, use Swipe. It's your basic filler. The gist of it is don't overcap rage, spend it on Ironfur, use cooldowns early and often, don't be shy about them, and prioritize your survivability first, then damage if you're safe. Now that we understand the single target priority, I would usually talk about the AoE priority. Don't stress about memorizing a separate AoE priority. For Guardian Druid, almost everything you do in single target applies directly to AoE. Your buttons and basic priorities don't really change. If you already know your single target flow, you're set. The real skill in AoE is pull management. Learn how much you can safely pull without risking yourself or your group. Focus on keeping aggro on everything and surviving the big hits. And use your cooldowns early and often until you're confident about what you can handle. If you want better AoE performance, spend your energy learning dungeon pulls and positioning, not obsessing over rotation tweaks. The rotation basically plays itself. Your job is to know your limits and play around them. If you've never tanked before, Guardian Druid is probably your safest bet. It's an easy entry point, forgiving for new players, and lets you focus more on learning the dungeon instead of worrying about your rotation. Don't stress about doing everything perfectly. Everyone makes mistakes and you'll only get better by actually tanking some dungeons. The spec is built to help you learn the ropes and build confidence. If you find this guide helpful, hit like and subscribe for more tank and Mythic Plus guides. And drop a comment if you have any questions. As always, I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.